The awakening of humanity. The galaxy had known peace for thousands of years. The great civilizations that lived across the stars had made their homes in the vastness of space. They knew war, yes, but those days were long gone. They had learned to live in harmony, trading, sharing knowledge, and exploring the universe without fear of attack. But one day, everything changed. A ship appeared out of nowhere, traveling through the dark void that separated the galaxy's most distant corners. It wasn't a huge ship, but its presence was like a shadow falling over the entire galaxy. Its origins were a mystery. No one knew where it came from, or how it had gotten so far. The ship, a sleek and advanced vessel, floated silently through space, seemingly unaffected by the vast distances. Its technology was strange, unlike anything the alien species had ever seen. It moved with purpose, cutting through space as if it knew exactly where it was going. The galactic leaders took notice immediately. They had always believed they were the most powerful species in the galaxy, but now this unknown ship had their full attention. On board the ship, the humans were unaware of the turmoil they had caused. They were only focused on their mission: to explore, to discover, and to make contact with other civilizations. But the moment they arrived, the peaceful world they had envisioned was shattered. The ship's arrival sparked panic in every corner of the galaxy. The peaceful species of the universe had never seen humans before, and they couldn't help but feel a strange sense of fear. As the news of the ship's arrival spread, the aliens were quick to discuss what this meant for their future. Some were curious, others were cautious, and many were downright scared. It wasn't just the ship itself that caused fear, it was the humans on board. The strange message they had received from Earth was short, but it sent a chill down the spines of everyone who read it. "We're coming." What did this mean? Who were these humans, and why did their very presence seem to unsettle everyone they came into contact with? The Council of the Galaxy's most powerful races met quickly to discuss the threat. They had never known a species like this before, so mysterious, so confident, and yet so dangerous. They had no information about humans other than what was given in the message, and they had no way to predict what would come next. Fear rippled through the room. Would these humans be friendly, or were they the beginning of something far worse? Are they planning an invasion? One of the council members asked, his voice trembling. He had seen civilizations rise and fall, but never anything like this. "We don't know," said another, "but we need to prepare ourselves." One leader, an experienced general from a race known for its vast technological superiority, suggested a strategy of caution. "We should wait, observe their behavior. If they want to fight, then we'll fight. But if they want peace, we need to offer them that too." But not everyone agreed. Some members of the council believed that humanity's arrival could be the end of the galaxy's peace. They argued that the galaxy had remained safe because everyone knew their place. If humans were as powerful as their message suggested, the balance could be shattered forever. In the far reaches of the galaxy, a different kind of panic was beginning. Several species that had lived in relative peace for centuries were now closing themselves off, sealing their borders and hiding from the unknown. Ships were ordered to patrol the space lanes, and large fleets were put on standby. For the first time in generations, the galaxy felt vulnerable. The people of the universe had never known a threat like this. In the back of their minds, a fear began to grow. What if humanity was not just an unknown, but a force they couldn't control? Back on Earth, the humans who had made the journey to the stars had no idea the chaos they had caused. They were focused on their mission of peaceful exploration, eager to meet new species and share knowledge. They had no desire for war, yet they were being watched, studied, and feared by those they hoped to call allies. At that very moment, a leader from one of the galaxy's most powerful races, a tall, blue-skinned being named Varnuk, sat in his command center, looking out over the star maps of the galaxy. His race, known for their wisdom and advanced technology, had always been the protectors of peace in the galaxy. But now, Varnuk could feel something was different. A new chapter was about to begin, one that no one could predict. His hands trembled as he tapped the controls on his desk, bringing up an image of the human ship. He studied it for a long moment. It was sleek, well-crafted, but something about it was unsettling. It wasn't the ship itself. It was the humans. Something in their eyes, in the way they sent that message, struck fear into him. They were coming, and they weren't stopping. The galaxy had known peace for so long, but now it was about to face a new reality. Humanity was awake, and the universe would never be the same again. As the first human ship moved closer to the heart of the galaxy, every species watched in silence. Fear gripped the universe, but no one knew for sure why. Could these humans be the saviors the galaxy needed, or were they the galaxy's worst nightmare? And so, the galaxy's greatest horror began, not with a bang, but with the quiet arrival of a species that was about to shake the very foundations of the universe. The awakening of humanity had begun. The unknown power. The galaxy, once a place of peace and calm, was now on edge. From the moment the humans had arrived, the air had changed. The stars themselves seemed to pulse with an unfamiliar energy. Every species, whether they were powerful or weak, could feel it. Something had shifted, something that had never been felt before. The first few months after the human ship entered the galaxy were filled with tension. The humans kept their distance, and no one knew what to expect. Their ship, though small compared to the massive warships of the galaxy's most advanced races, was a mystery. It did not respond to the usual signals or requests for communication. Instead, it simply hovered, silent, observing. The galaxy's leaders were baffled. It was clear that the humans were not like any species they had encountered before. Their technology was strange, unlike anything the Galactic Council had seen. But what was even more unsettling was the human ability to adapt. Every species in the galaxy had certain advantages. Some were stronger, others faster. Some had advanced technology, while others relied on their intelligence and ancient wisdom. But the humans had something different, something that made them unlike any race the galaxy had ever encountered. As the days passed, reports from across the galaxy began to trickle in. Ships that had ventured too close to the human vessel started to disappear. Not in the sense that they were destroyed, but in a way that left the Galactic Council unable to explain. The ships simply stopped transmitting signals and vanished without a trace. It was as if the humans could shut down an entire fleet without lifting a finger. Varnock, the leader of the galaxy's most respected race, began to hear rumors. The humans, it seemed, were not just physically strong. They had an ability to think and react faster than any species could comprehend. Some claimed that the humans could calculate the odds of a battle in real time, predicting every move their enemies would make before they even knew what to do. Others whispered that their technological advancements were not just the result of sophisticated machines, but that humans had found a way to manipulate the very fabric of space and time. As much as Varnock hated to admit it, he feared what was coming. The reports of human adaptability were too consistent to be ignored. There was something unsettling about their nature, their ability to learn and grow in ways that were almost supernatural. In his long life, he had seen civilizations rise and fall, but never had he felt such a deep sense of unease. One day, Varnock received an unexpected visitor. It was a representative from the United Galactic Council, a collective of various species that governed the galaxy's most important matters. The representative, an anxious-looking insectoid named Grix, walked into Varnock's chamber. His wings fluttered nervously as he bowed low. "We have a situation, Varnock," Grix said, his voice trembling. "The humans, they are more dangerous than we thought. Their technology, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. We've sent probes to observe their ship, but they've somehow disabled them all. Not only that, but we've been hearing strange things from our own ships. The humans are adapting faster than we can even understand." Varnock stared at Grix, his expression cold. "What do you mean by adapting faster?" Grix swallowed nervously. "I mean that they are learning how to counter our every move. Every strategy we use against them has already been anticipated. We've tried every form of attack, but they've outsmarted us every time. The humans aren't just good at warfare. They are evolving. Every time they face something new, they adjust. It's like they have an instinct for combat, for survival, that no one else has. Varnok's brow furrowed. He had heard rumors of this, but hearing it from someone he trusted made it all the more real. The humans were not just invaders. They were a species capable of unimaginable growth, of becoming stronger with each encounter. They were a living, breathing force of nature, one that could not be easily understood or controlled. They are not just a threat, Varnok said, his voice low. They are a revolution. Grix nodded. Exactly. And the worst part is that they don't just adapt to our strategies. They improve upon them. They seem to find weaknesses in our technology that we didn't even know existed. Their warships, though primitive compared to ours, are now capable of outmaneuvering some of our most advanced fleets. Varnok's mind raced. What could the galaxy do to stop them? They had underestimated humanity from the start, assuming that their small, seemingly fragile ships would be easy to defeat. But humanity had proven them wrong. Now the galaxy was facing something far more terrifying than an enemy fleet. They were facing an enemy that could learn, grow, and adapt in ways that no one had ever imagined. In the days that followed, the Council debated the best course of action. Some advocated for an immediate all-out assault on humanity, hoping to crush them before they could grow any stronger. Others, like Varnok, suggested that they try to understand what made humanity so different, to learn from them rather than destroy them. But even Varnok knew that this was a risky path. Humanity was unpredictable, and there was no telling what they might do next. As the debate continued, humanity remained silent, waiting. The humans knew that the galaxy was watching them, studying them, and afraid of what they might become. But the humans were not afraid. They were not intimidated. They had already faced battles on Earth that had tested their resolve. And now, as they ventured into the stars, they were ready for whatever the galaxy had to offer. In the cold, dark void of space, humanity's rise had only just begun. Their power was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, and they would stop at nothing to achieve their goal: survival, and perhaps domination. The galaxy was on the edge of a new era, one that would be shaped by the unknown power of humanity. The first battle. The galaxy had never been this tense. The arrival of humanity, though initially shrouded in uncertainty, had now become a full-blown crisis. Every species in the universe had spent centuries honing their skills, developing their technologies, and securing their territories. Yet, all of that now seemed insignificant in the face of humanity's terrifying rise. There was no longer any question of peace. The galaxy's leaders knew that the only way forward was through conflict. The United Galactic Council, after much deliberation, decided to act. A coalition of the most powerful species, including Varnok's people, would face humanity head-on. They agreed to launch a surprise attack, a force so overwhelming that no human ship could survive the onslaught. The battle would take place in the outer reaches of the galaxy, far from the heart of the Council's territories. It would be a final test to determine if humanity's rise could be halted before it was too late. As the fleets assembled, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Ships of all shapes and sizes, massive warships armed with the most advanced weaponry in the galaxy, formed a massive armada. These ships had been designed to crush enemies, to deal with threats that were more powerful than anything humanity had ever encountered. The Council believed that this battle would be the final answer to the question of humanity's place in the galaxy. The fleet's commander, General Sivok, an experienced war strategist, was confident in their plan. His species had won countless battles, and their technology was unmatched. He had no doubt that the humans would crumble before them. "We will strike them down before they even know what hit them," Sivok said, his voice booming over the comms as he addressed his fleet. "Stay sharp and show no mercy. The fleet moved silently through space, their engines barely making a sound as they glided toward the coordinates where humanity's ship had last been seen. The anticipation was almost unbearable. Every officer, every soldier aboard the ships could feel the weight of the moment. This was it, the moment that would determine the fate of the galaxy. But as the fleet reached the location, something was wrong. There was no sign of humanity's ship. For a brief moment, it seemed like the humans had disappeared, as if they had somehow anticipated the attack and retreated. The Council fleet hesitated, confusion setting in. Had they been outmaneuvered again? Sivak's eyes narrowed as he examined the star maps. Hold your positions. Wait for orders. Then, without warning, a signal blared across the fleet. A human ship, small but incredibly fast, appeared from behind a nearby asteroid field, as though it had been waiting there the whole time. It was surrounded by a series of smaller ships, each one moving in perfect formation, something that no one had expected. The humans had been preparing for this battle, and they were not going to back down. "What is this?" Sivak muttered, staring at the fleet. There were only a handful of ships, but they moved with an uncanny precision, as if they had been practicing together for years. The human ships had no shields, no massive weapons, yet they seemed to be moving with an ease and speed that suggested they had something much more dangerous at their disposal. The human ship's captain, a figure known only as Commander Zane, had already given orders. The moment the fleet of the United Galactic Council moved into position, the humans made their move. They fired a single shot from their ship, a small, seemingly insignificant bolt of energy. But to the horror of the Galactic fleet, the shot struck a massive warship, and the vessel's entire hull exploded in a flash of light, disintegrating into space dust. The Council fleet was stunned. This wasn't supposed to happen. A single shot from a human ship had destroyed one of their most powerful warships. How was this possible? The humans weren't playing by the galaxy's rules. They weren't following the same strategies that everyone else used. They were unpredictable, their every move defying logic and expectations. And yet, they were winning. "What are they doing?" Sivak demanded, his voice rising. "Why are they attacking like this?" The human ships didn't retreat. Instead, they continued to press forward, moving with lightning speed. Their small size made them nearly impossible to target, and they seemed to be everywhere at once, darting through the asteroid fields and weaving in and out of enemy fire. The Galactic fleet, despite their overwhelming numbers, couldn't land a single hit. The human ships were too fast, too agile. The battle raged on, but it was clear that the humans were winning. Every time a Council ship aimed at one of the human vessels, the human ship would already be gone, moving to another part of the battlefield. It was like they could predict the future, anticipating every move the enemy made. Sivak watched in disbelief as one by one, the powerful ships of the Council began to fall. Another ship exploded in the distance, followed by another and then another. The human ships didn't stop. They kept pushing forward, showing no fear, no hesitation. They weren't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. "How are they doing this?" Sivak asked, his voice hoarse. "We have the best technology in the galaxy. We should be crushing them." The Council fleet was in chaos. Ships tried to regroup, but it was too late. The humans had already surrounded them, their smaller ships darting in and out of the lines, picking off ships one by one. The humans' ability to adapt, to learn from each encounter, was too much for the Council to handle. The humans had become the perfect predators. In the chaos, one of the human ships managed to break through the fleet's defenses and made a direct approach to Sivak's command ship. It was a bold move, and it caught the Galactic fleet off guard. Sivak had no choice but to order his ship to retreat. But it was too late. The human ship, now only a few kilometers away, launched another shot, this time striking the command ship directly. The ship's massive engines exploded, and Sivak's command ship was no more. The galaxy's most powerful fleet had been defeated by a handful of humans. The battle was over, and the humans had won. As the smoke cleared and the remaining ships began to retreat, the galaxy was left with one thought. Humanity was not just a new power in the galaxy. They were a force unlike anything anyone had ever seen, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The terrifying truth. The aftermath of the first battle left the galaxy in a state of shock. The United Galactic Council had been forced to retreat in disgrace, their once proud fleets shattered and broken by a handful of human ships. What was meant to be a decisive strike had turned into a catastrophic failure. And now, the Council's leaders were scrambling to understand the true nature of humanity. They had underestimated the humans, and the consequences were far worse than they could have imagined. In the quiet corners of the galaxy, the news of humanity's victory spread like wildfire. Worlds that had once felt safe now quivered with fear. The human ships, small and seemingly insignificant, had shown themselves to be far more deadly than anyone could have predicted. It wasn't just their technology, nor their military tactics. It was something deeper, something far more disturbing. Varnock, the once confident leader of the galaxy's most powerful race, sat in his command center, staring out into the stars. His people had faced many challenges, but nothing had prepared them for the onslaught of humanity's rise. For the first time in his life, Varnock felt vulnerable. He was no longer certain of his people's place in the galaxy, nor of their future. In a dark chamber on a far-off world, representatives from the galaxy's most respected species gathered. The Council had called an emergency session, hoping to find some way to combat the human threat. The first order of business was to determine just how humanity had gained such an overwhelming advantage. They needed to understand the enemy before they could fight it. "We cannot continue to fight without understanding what we're up against," one of the Council members, an insectoid known as Klar, said, his mandibles clicking with frustration. "Our technology, our strategies, they're useless. The humans have torn through our fleets like paper." "I agree," said Varnock, his voice heavy. "It's not just their ships. It's how they fight, how they think. They don't follow the rules. They don't fight like any species we know." "We've been investigating their home world," said a third representative, a tall, wiry alien known as Jalthor. "And we've uncovered something strange. Something unsettling." The room fell silent. Everyone knew that the truth about humanity was still shrouded in mystery. The humans had been isolated for so long on Earth, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. There had been no way to understand how they had developed or what made them so different. But now, as the Council dug deeper, the pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fall into place. Jalthor continued, "The humans, they are not like us. They don't just use technology for power. They wield it. Their entire species has developed a unique relationship with their environment. They are, quite literally, at one with the planet they come from. They have learned to bend nature to their will in ways we never thought possible." A murmur of disbelief ran through the Council. "What are you saying?" Varnock asked, his voice sharp. "Humanity's greatest strength is not their technology, nor their adaptability," Jalthor said. "It is their ability to evolve at an unimaginable rate. We thought they were just a simple, primitive species, but in reality, they'd been advancing in ways we never understood. Their biology allows them to adapt faster than any other species in the galaxy. When they encounter a challenge, they overcome it, and in the process, they become stronger." Varnock's heart sank. This was something no one had predicted. The idea that humanity could evolve on such a rapid scale, that they could learn and improve themselves faster than anyone else, it was terrifying. What would happen when they encountered a more advanced race? Would they simply absorb that knowledge and surpass it in a matter of years? "Are you telling me that humanity can evolve faster than us?" Klar asked, his voice full of disbelief. Jalthor nodded grimly. "Yes, and it's not just their biology. It's their mentality. The humans have developed an incredible ability to cooperate, to fight together as one. It's as if they're not just individuals. They are a collective force, a hive mind of sorts, always working together to achieve their goals." How is this possible? Varnock whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Jalthor leaned forward, his eyes narrow. It's not just biology. It's a mindset. They are driven by something we don't understand. A singular, unstoppable force that compels them to improve, to overcome, to conquer. The room was silent, each member processing this revelation. The idea that humanity's true power lay not in their ships or weapons, but in their very nature was unsettling. They were a species that could not be predicted, one that could learn, adapt, and evolve at a pace no one could match. We've been fighting them with the wrong mindset, Varnock said quietly. We thought we could outsmart them with our technology, with our fleets. But what if their greatest strength isn't something we can defeat with weapons or strategies? What if it's something we can't fight at all? Jalthor nodded. I believe that is exactly what we are facing. Humanity's rise is not just a challenge to our military. It is a challenge to everything we thought we knew about what makes a species great. Varnock stood, his mind racing. The Council had been focused on fighting humanity, on stopping them from advancing further. But now, it seemed that the true threat wasn't just the humans themselves. It was the potential they represented. If they were allowed to continue growing, if they were allowed to spread across the galaxy and build their power, there was no telling how far they could go. We need to stop them, Varnock said, his voice determined. We cannot allow this species to grow unchecked. If humanity continues to evolve at this rate, they will surpass us. And when they do, we won't stand a chance. But even as he spoke those words, a voice inside him couldn't help but wonder, would it be possible to stop humanity? Or was the galaxy already too late? The terrifying truth had begun to sink in. Humanity wasn't just a species to be feared. It was a force of nature, one that would reshape the galaxy in ways no one could have foreseen. And there was no turning back now. The galactic panic. The news had spread throughout the galaxy like wildfire. The victory of humanity had shaken the very foundations of the galaxy's power. The first battle had been catastrophic, and the truth was now undeniable. Humanity was not just another species among many. They were a force that could not be contained. Their ability to adapt, to evolve, and to overcome every challenge thrown at them had left the galactic leaders in a state of fear. They could no longer pretend that the humans were just a minor threat. They were something else, something far worse. It wasn't just the galaxy's leaders who were in panic. Across the stars, entire civilizations were retreating into hiding, their borders closing tighter than ever before. The fear of humanity's rise was so deep that entire fleets were being called back to protect homeworlds that had previously been thought to be safe from any kind of invasion. The once confident and unified Galactic Council, which had ruled over the galaxy for millennia, was now fracturing under the weight of this new fear. Planetary defense systems were upgraded overnight, and countless resources were redirected to fortifying the defenses of the galaxy's most vulnerable colonies. Everyone knew that the humans were coming. The question wasn't if, but when, and what they would do when they arrived. In the vast expanse of space, a coalition of the galaxy's most powerful species assembled in secret. They met in a distant, uninhabited system, far from prying eyes. Varnock, once a leader of strength and authority, now appeared weary, his mind heavy with the burden of what he had learned. Humanity's rapid advancement was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. It was not just their ability to adapt that made them terrifying. It was their relentless determination. They would stop at nothing to achieve their goals, and that made them unpredictable and dangerous. We have to act, and we have to act fast, Varnock said, his voice tense as he addressed the council. His hands gripped the armrest of his chair so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The weight of the situation hung over him, and he knew that the choices they made in the coming days would determine the future of the galaxy. Varnock is right. A voice from the Zathari race, a species known for their ruthless efficiency in war, echoed through the chamber. We can no longer sit idly by while humanity continues to grow stronger. We've already seen what they're capable of, and we cannot afford to be caught off guard again. The Zathari leader, Commander Kryla, was known for her no-nonsense attitude. She was one of the most feared military strategists in the galaxy, and her reputation for swift and brutal tactics was legendary. Our fleets were routed by a few human ships. We need to crush them before they have a chance to regroup. If we wait any longer, we risk losing everything. The room buzzed with tension as the other leaders weighed in. Some agreed with Kryla's call for immediate action, while others cautioned against underestimating humanity. One of the most respected members of the council, an ancient alien known as Ryton, stood and raised a hand for silence. We cannot ignore what we have learned about humanity. Their ability to adapt, to evolve, is beyond our understanding. Ryton said, his voice slow and deliberate. It is not enough to fight them with strength alone. We must understand them. We must learn what makes them so different. Otherwise, we will repeat the same mistake we made in the first battle. The council fell silent, the weight of Ryton's words sinking in. Humanity's rise was not just a military problem. It was a philosophical one. For millennia, the galaxy had operated under the assumption that power was determined by technology, resources, and might. But humanity had shown that sheer will and determination could defy all the established rules. And if that was true, then the galaxy was facing something far more dangerous than any weapon or fleet. Ryton is correct, Varnak said, finally breaking the silence. If we continue to fight them as we have been, we will lose. But we cannot ignore the fact that humanity is a threat. We need to find a way to understand them, to learn from them, and to counter their abilities. Understand them. Kryla scoffed. We don't have the luxury of time for diplomacy and study. Every moment we waste, they grow stronger. You heard the reports. Human fleets are already beginning to expand into new territories. They've begun colonizing distant worlds, claiming resources we can't afford to lose. If we don't strike now, we may not have the chance to fight them at all. Varnak nodded slowly, acknowledging the reality of the situation. The Galactic Council's power was slipping away. Humanity was spreading, and no one knew just how far they would go. The unknowns were terrifying. But there was no easy solution. They couldn't keep reacting to humanity's moves, or they would always be one step behind. They needed to take control of the situation before it spiraled out of their reach. As Varnak's mind raced, he looked around the room, his gaze locking with each leader in turn. The weight of the decision pressed down on him. How could they possibly defeat an enemy that refused to be defeated? How could they fight a species that didn't just survive, but thrived in the face of adversity? Perhaps we are looking at this the wrong way, Ryton said, his voice filled with a strange sense of calm. What if we could join them? What if we could find a way to work with them rather than fight them? Their power lies not just in their adaptability, but in their unity, their shared will to survive. The council fell silent again, the implications of Ryton's suggestion echoing through the room. Could they really work with humanity, or would that be an even greater mistake? The fear that had consumed the galaxy was so deep that it was hard to imagine a way forward that didn't involve conflict. But what if there was another path? Varnak's mind churned with the possibilities. He had always believed in the strength of unity among the galaxy's species, but what if humanity's unity was something far beyond anything they had ever known? What if humanity's strength didn't just come from their technology or their ability to adapt, but from the sheer force of their collective will? There is no easy answer, Varnak said at last, his voice heavy with the weight of his thoughts. But one thing is certain, we cannot ignore humanity. We must find a way to coexist, or we will all be consumed by their rise. The council sat in uneasy silence. The fear was palpable, but so was the uncertainty. No one knew what the future held, but the galaxy had to make a choice. The rise of humanity was inevitable. The question was whether the galaxy could learn to live with it, or whether humanity would become the new rulers of the stars. As the meeting broke up, Varnak stood alone in the chamber, staring out at the stars. The galaxy was in a panic, and the future had never seemed more uncertain. But one thing was clear: humanity was no longer just a threat to the galaxy. They were its new rulers in the making. And the galaxy had to decide whether it would resist, adapt, or be swallowed whole by humanity's unstoppable rise. The human revolution. The universe had known power struggles before: wars fought over resources, empires built on conquest, and alliances forged out of necessity. But what humanity was building was unlike anything that had ever been seen before. The very foundation of the galaxy was shaking under the weight of their relentless advance. What began as a few scattered human ships had turned into a full-scale movement, a revolution, one that was destined to change the fate of the entire universe. Humanity, once considered a primitive species confined to a single planet, was now a galactic force. Their rise had not been slow or gradual. It had been explosive. After the devastating defeat of the United Galactic fleets, the once proud members of the Council were left to wonder how this could have happened. How could a species that had once been nothing more than a speck on the galactic map now be on the verge of dominating the stars? It was not just their strength in battle or their unparalleled adaptability that made them dangerous. It was their revolutionary mindset. Humanity's greatest asset was not their advanced technology or their ability to build weapons. It was their relentless will to survive and evolve. They did not simply fight to win. They fought to transform everything around them, to bend the universe to their will. In the aftermath of their victory over the Galactic fleet, humanity's leaders began to make their move. The leaders of Earth were no longer simply diplomats. They were conquerors. Their message was simple, yet it echoed across the galaxy like a declaration of war. We are here to stay, and we will not be stopped. While the galaxy's great powers were still reeling from their defeat, humanity's influence spread like wildfire. Colonies that had once been neutral were suddenly embracing human settlers, eager to share in the benefits of humanity's rise. Earth, with its abundant resources and untapped potential, had become a beacon for those seeking power, safety, and prosperity. The human revolution was more than just a political movement. It was a cultural one. Human ideals, their unyielding drive to improve, were spreading across the stars. But not everyone was willing to accept humanity's rise. The more established alien races, especially those who had held positions of power for centuries, viewed humanity with suspicion and fear. They had underestimated humanity before, but they would not make that mistake again. Leaders from the most powerful species met in secret to discuss their next steps. "I do not like this," Kryla, the commander of this Aetheri, said as she stood before the Council of Galactic Leaders. "Humanity's influence is growing too fast. They have already gained control of several key trade routes, and their fleets are expanding. We cannot sit idly by while they continue to encroach upon our territories." Kryla was not alone in her concern. The galaxy's older species, once the undisputed masters of space, were now faced with the reality that their time at the top was coming to an end. Humanity's strength was in its unity, its ability to work together, to create, to adapt to the ever-changing circumstances of war and peace, and that unity was becoming more powerful by the day. The alien leaders tried to rally their forces, but they were too divided. Some sought diplomacy, hoping to find a way to coexist with the humans. Others, like Kryla, demanded immediate action. But all of them were paralyzed by one question: how could they defeat humanity, when every time they thought they had found a way to strike, the humans adapted and evolved? In the shadow of this uncertainty, a new human fleet arrived in the galaxy's core, its ships gleaming like a wall of light. These were not the small, agile ships that had first surprised the galactic forces. No, these were massive vessels, designed to carry humanity's revolution to the farthest reaches of the universe. Each ship was a symbol of their unyielding will, a testament to the incredible progress humanity had made in a short time. And they weren't alone. Humanity's influence had spread not just through colonization, but through cooperation. Species that had once been skeptical of humanity were now joining forces with them. Some were doing so out of fear, others out of admiration. But no matter the reason, Their loyalty to humanity was growing stronger every day. "We will not stop," declared Commander Zane, the leader of the human fleet. "We have come too far. The galaxy is vast, but it will not be big enough to hold us. We will grow, and we will change this galaxy, one world at a time." Zane's words were not just a rallying cry for humanity. They were a challenge to the entire galaxy. The revolution humanity was leading was not just about survival. It was about transformation. It was about reshaping the very fabric of the galaxy itself. And humanity was determined to see it through. Meanwhile, in the galactic capital, Varnak and the other leaders were preparing for their next move. They had seen the human revolution unfold before their eyes, and they knew that time was running out. Humanity's influence was now too great to ignore. Entire sectors of the galaxy were beginning to fall under human control, and the once imposing fleets of the Council were scattered and broken. Varnak, the leader who had once been so sure of his people's place in the galaxy, now found himself questioning everything. He had led his people for centuries, but in the face of humanity's rise, he felt like a relic, an ancient leader in a time that no longer existed. "We cannot allow this to continue," Varnak said, his voice grave as he addressed the Council. "Humanity is not just an enemy. They are a force that will change everything. If we do not act quickly, we will find ourselves under their control with no way to fight back." His words hung in the air, a stark reminder of the precarious position the galaxy now found itself in. But even as he spoke, Varnak knew that the real question was no longer how to defeat humanity. It was how to survive in a galaxy where humanity was the new power. The human revolution was not just about conquering planets. It was about changing the entire universe. And as humanity's reach continued to expand, one thing became clear: the galaxy was entering a new era. The old powers were crumbling, and a new force had taken their place. The revolution was unstoppable, and there was no turning back. As humanity continued to expand its influence, the galaxy would have to decide: could they adapt to this new order, or would they resist and risk being swept aside by the relentless tide of humanity's rise? The future of the galaxy hung in the balance, and the revolution was only just beginning. The rise of humanity's empire. The galaxy was on the precipice of something no one could have predicted. It wasn't just a shift in power, it was a complete upheaval. The once grand empires that had ruled the stars for millennia were now facing an undeniable truth. The rise of humanity was no longer a threat to be managed. It was the new order. The galaxy's old rulers were now being pushed aside, forced to confront the harsh reality that humanity was on the verge of becoming the dominant force in the universe. Commander Zane stood at the helm of his flagship, watching the view of the galaxy unfold before him. The stars stretched out into the distance, and each one represented a new world, a new colony, or a newly forged alliance. Humanity's reach had expanded beyond what even their most optimistic leaders had ever imagined. No longer were they just fighting for survival, they were fighting for rule. And they had taken that fight to every corner of the universe. The fleets had grown larger, more advanced, and more coordinated. The human empire was no longer a fragmented collection of ships and outposts. It was a unified force, working together with one purpose: to expand, to dominate, and to transform the galaxy in their image. The once feared Galactic Council, a coalition of powerful species, had fractured under the weight of humanity's rise. Some had fought back, others had surrendered, and a few had chosen to ally with the humans, seeing the writing on the wall. "Report." Zane's voice echoed through the comm system of his ship. The bridge crew scrambled, working efficiently to maintain their dominance. One of the officers, a young human lieutenant, spoke up with a calmness that seemed almost out of place in such a turbulent time. "We've secured another 5 systems, Commander. The newly allied races are already reinforcing the outposts, and the mining operations are running at full capacity. The Galactic core is now under our control, with only a few rebel factions remaining. Their resistance is minimal." Zane nodded slowly, his sharp eyes scanning the star map displayed before him. He had fought for this moment for so long, and now that it was within reach, he couldn't help but feel a strange mix of pride and uncertainty. The path to this point had been hard, harder than any of them had ever anticipated. But now that the Empire was forming, the next question loomed large in his mind. What would humanity do with its newfound power? What about the Council? Zane asked, breaking his own thoughts. Have we made contact with the remaining leaders? One of the officers hesitated, then replied, Yes, Commander. Some of them have requested negotiations. They are desperate. Zane's lips curled into a small smile. Negotiations. The once mighty Council, now scrambling to secure a place in the new order humanity was creating. For centuries, they had ruled the galaxy with iron hands, making decisions that affected the fate of entire species. Now they were at humanity's mercy. Send them a message, Zane said, his voice firm and commanding. Tell them humanity doesn't negotiate with failure. The galaxy is ours now. It's time for them to understand that. The human revolution was no longer just about survival. It was about establishing a new order, one that would shape the galaxy for generations to come. The rise of humanity's empire was not just inevitable, it was unstoppable. It wasn't a conquest driven by greed or hatred. It was a revolution fueled by humanity's unparalleled drive to evolve, to improve, and to control their destiny. In the core of the galaxy, the remnants of the Galactic Council had gathered for one final summit. Leaders from the most powerful species in the galaxy stood in a room that felt more like a prison than a place of negotiation. Varnock, once the proud leader of his people, sat among them, his eyes heavy with the weight of the choices they had made. The Council had spent countless years in power, and now, humanity's rise had shown them one harsh truth. They were no longer the galaxy's rulers. They were simply survivors, struggling to remain relevant in a galaxy that was changing before their eyes. What are we going to do? One of the council members, a high-ranking military leader from the Telvanni, asked. His voice trembled with a fear that was impossible to hide. We cannot fight them anymore. We tried, and they wiped us out. We cannot stop their advance. Varnock, ever the strategist, took a deep breath and looked around the table. There was no more pride in his expression, no more hope, only the recognition of a grim reality. There is nothing we can do, he said, his voice low but resolute. Humanity's empire is inevitable. We cannot fight them in the traditional way anymore. We have lost. What does that mean for us? A representative from the Draxian system asked. Are we to be absorbed? Do we simply bow to them and become subjects in their empire? Varnock looked at the Draxian leader, his eyes filled with both sorrow and understanding. We have no choice, he said. Humanity does not just conquer, it transforms. They will shape the galaxy in their image, and we must decide if we will adapt or if we will fade into irrelevance. The council members fell into silence. The words had hit hard, and for the first time in their long careers, they realized just how far the galaxy had shifted. Humanity's rise was not just a political shift. It was a new era in galactic history, one that no one could deny. Back in the heart of the human empire, Zane watched as his fleet continued to grow, as new worlds were brought under their banner. The transformation was more than just military. It was cultural, political, and economic. Humanity was building a new civilization, one that would stretch across the stars, shaping the galaxy according to their vision of unity, strength, and progress. No longer were they the outcasts, the underdogs. They were the future. The question was no longer whether humanity would rule the galaxy. It was how the galaxy would accept it. Would the alien races fight and be destroyed, or would they join the new empire and embrace the changes humanity was bringing? As humanity's empire continued to rise, one thing became clear. The galaxy would never be the same. Those who had once thought themselves the masters of the universe were now forced to choose, adapt or be left behind. And as the human fleets surged forward, one thing was certain: the galaxy had entered a new era, and humanity was at the center of it. The rise of humanity's empire had begun. The revolution was over. Now, it was time to build a new future, one where humanity would lead the galaxy into a new age of power, progress, and unity. There was no turning back.